So, welcome to my review of Dragon Quest III, the HD-2D Remake, and is available for PS5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series X, Series S, and on PC. And I want to say, this is a no spoilers review, so I'm not going to ruin the story, I'm not going to ruin later parts of the game, and a lot of interesting changes that they've done as well. Now, this is a full 3D, 2D remake of an original Famicom game that came out in 1988. I have it right here, Dragon Quest III, a very popular Japanese role-playing game series in Japan. And I first played Dragon Quest III as Dragon Warrior 3 here in 1992. Here's my original copy that I bought from the store, and I played the heck out of this game back then. A great role-playing game on the regular Nintendo.
And don't be thinking I'm ridiculously old or anything. I was just a kid back then.
And over the years, there's been other remakes of Dragon Quest III. In 1996, they did a remake on the Super Famicom right here for Dragon Quest III. There's also been a Game Boy Color game, there's been collections on the original Wii, there's been a lot of different versions of this game. Even my wife finished 1 to 3 on the Switch collection only a few years ago now. And they were ports of mobile ports, and not my favorite conversion of the original games for sure. So I was very excited when I first saw the trailer announcing that they were remaking 3. And I'm like, I can't believe it, with very Octopath Traveler looking graphics, but we'll expand on that in a little bit.
Well then, shall we get going?
And I will ask you guys, are you picking up Dragon Quest III, the high definition 2D remake? Let me know down below. So to begin with, you pick your language and your voice settings.
I won't have the king thinking you've been dragged up.
And then you get to select your character appearance. There's A and B. So I picked A, and it goes, okay, you want to use this character as your hero, and the B character will be the heroine. And also fascinating for a Dragon Quest game, there is a difficulty setting in here. And there's 3 to choose from. There's Draki Quest, which is basically easy mode. There's Dragon Quest, which is just the regular medium difficulty. And there's Draconian Quest, which is kind of the hard setting. Now, here's the very interesting bit to talk about the story. Because this is a no spoilers review, the only thing that I can really say here is that 1 to 3, Dragon Quest 1 to 3, are one story. They're all kind of related to each other, and I ruined it in the past and I don't want to ruin it again. All I can say is really this, is that you play as the main hero and your quest is to defeat the evil Baramos.
Keep your wits about you.
And that's all I can say, really, I know, because there's some real twists and turns with this storyline, and it really relates to 1 and 2 when they bring those out. And what kind of game have we got here? We've got a 30 to 40 hour experience, and especially depending on how you grind your character up, how you change your classes, and how much you want to explore in this game. So as for gameplay, the game is spent exploring the world, fighting monsters, leveling up, gaining money, and buying better equipment. That has always been the staple of any Dragon Quest game. And along the way, you recruit other party members and you can upgrade their class. And that's a really big deal going forward because you can have a character who has fighting abilities and can also use spells like a wizard. And also later on in the game, there's monster arenas and you can battle monsters here and bet on them. One feature that I really enjoy is the speed run. So I remember in the original Dragon Quest and Dragon Warrior when I played it, your character was walking so slow and I was just always like going, oh my god, I just want to get to the next area. In here, you hold the button down, you have a speed walk, and I really appreciate that. You can use it on the world map, in towns, and in dungeons. And just like the past games, you can interact with your environment, you can go and look in pots for secret items. And one thing I do appreciate as well is you can control your character with the analog stick and the D-pad, which really brings it back to the heydays of the originals. Another thing I really enjoy in this game is the mapping of everything. So I can always see where I am, and you can also point it to show you on the map where you need to go next. But I really like these maps, especially when you get to a dungeon and you're like, where am I supposed to go? You're like, oh, okay, I've already mapped this bit. I know exactly where I need to go. So you never feel completely lost. There's also a day and night function in the game, which was revolutionary back in the day when they originally had this. And a lot of different things happen to the night, to the daytime. Some shops that you go to are only open at night, some are only open during the day. And also, when you're walking around on the world map, one thing that I really like, which is a big improvement, is kind of hidden treasures on the world map. So you'll see certain sections, you're like, oh, I'm gonna wander over there, and you see something glowing, and you get some treasure. And there's other sections where you see like a tree and you walk up to it and you can completely explore this little area and get treasure there as well. So they've kind of spruced up the world map, so you're no longer just going from A to B, there's another bunch of things to do in between. And yes, in the towns you can recruit, as I said, more heroes to help you, and you can change their classes later on in the game. And that leads us into combat. So for Dragon Quest, it's always been turn-based combat, and I really love that, and I really hope they don't change that in the future. But here we get first-person combat, just like the originals, and then the camera will move back behind your heroes to see the entire playing field. And I really like that. It really changes it up, but I still love the turn-based combat and the return to form. And one thing that I want to say is combat is really slow default. And I was playing it at first and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't particularly love this. I'm like, why is it so slow? You can go in and change the battle speed to speed it really up a lot faster so you can blast through battles and level up a lot easier. And I gotta say, I really like this because they haven't changed it too much from the original. It's still your basic attacks, tactics, the other recruits do AI attacks, and it's a return to form in that if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And I really like how they've kept it so close to the original. And combat is fun because you'll be spending a lot of time in it. It's a very old school Dragon Quest game. And for a lot of us out there, old Dragon Quest fans, we love it. We love the grind, we love the leveling up, and it's very rewarding, and it's really fun to level up in this game. And with the increased battle speed, you can get it done a lot faster. One thing in combat, I really wish the enemies were a little bit bigger and a little bit more there on the screen, but I definitely understand that they're doing it just like the original. They're trying to get in as many enemies as possible so you can take them out in combat. It makes sense for the combat engine, I definitely understand, but I was just like, oh man, that slime is so small on the screen, and I just wish it could like jump out at me just a little bit more. Okay, let's talk about the graphics here, because everybody's been talking about the graphics and like, wow, like look at these graphics. They're exactly like Octopath Traveler. No, they're not. In a lot of ways, they mimic Octopath Traveler, but I see so many big improvements here. So it's all the little details they've thrown into this game, like when you're running through a town and you see some birds and you run through them, they scatter and fly off into the distance. And I love when you're in a cave and your lantern is casting light on the wall, and it's also casting your reflection in different ways based on the lighting of the environment. And yes, it's also silly little things like the fireplace animation when you're running around town and you go into somebody's place and they have a little fireplace. I kind of like that animation. And also when you're walking around the overworld and the water is just glistening. And to be honest with you, it's all of the environments. When you see all the trees, you can see little wisps flying throughout, and you can see all of the mountains in the distance, and you can see mist coming off all of them. It's all these details that really bring it alive. Even when you go into a dungeon and you walk in and rats scatter as well. These are things that they didn't have to add. And it's all these little moments that really bring it together. Even smoke coming from the chimneys of the towns. All these little things really help bring in the life of the world. And also in combat, when you're in combat, you can see the wind behind. Like little things like that they didn't have to add, but they decided to, and really make the world come alive a lot more.
Well met.
And that brings us to sound and music. How is the sound? How is the music? How is the voiceover? Let's talk about the voiceover to begin with. I gotta say, I've been very impressed listening to the voices in this game. Very well done, very dramatic at times, very over the top, some really over the top British accents going on there, but very fitting for the game.
Oh, thank heavens! I made it just in time. Most would have attacked this defenseless slime by now.
And how are the sound effects? They're great. They really harken back to the old Dragon Quest sound effects that we all know so very, very well. Now we get to the music in the game, and I gotta say, Dragon Quest music has been some of my favorite music in video game history, even going back to the original NES games that I grew up on. Those had such catchy tunes, and I've always really loved them. And how is this music in this game? It's taking all of the original music and really enhancing them, and just beautiful to listen to. And I'll be honest with you about something here. I get a small tear, man, listening to some of this music because it takes me back to being like 18 years old playing some of these games again.
Take this!
Now we get to the part in the review where we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Yes, the censorship issues.
Well, no time like the present.
And I dug up one of my old art books for Dragon Quest III here, and I just want to show some things and some ways that they've changed the game over the years. Like my characters here, they would have like a Christian symbol on them, and they've changed that now to like a trident, and it got changed a while ago. It's even in the Switch version of the game, and I gotta say, it's an unusual change. I understand a lot of people are upset about it. It doesn't break the game for me, changing it to a trident. It almost makes it its own Dragon Quest world thing. But you know what? It is so nostalgic seeing the original characters the way they originally looked. Now another change has been the covering up of some of the characters in the game. So we have some of our warriors right here, and they decided to cover up some of the cleavage and the lower parts by adding shorts and a sports bra type of thing. And I gotta say, a lot of people are upset about this, a lot of people don't care about it, but it's something that I had to bring up. And to me, it seems like a very strange change because the characters in the game are so small that you don't even see some of the covering up or changes. I don't even think that they really did the changes with the sprite work in the game itself. But it kind of gets you wondering, why would they do such changes? And I've been confused about it as well, because I really don't like censorship in games and changing the original Akira Toriyama artwork. I don't really particularly love that by any stretch of the imagination, but Yuji Horii, the creator of Dragon Quest, came out and said it was for the rating system, that they wanted the game to have a general rating and to be able to sell the most amount of copies they could. So love it or hate it, there has been some censorship done on Akira Toriyama's artwork. I'm not happy about it, but it is not a game breaker of this game. And also, strangely enough, in the first version of the game that I played, I found a glitch. I did. I was playing with my wife and I walked my character down to the bottom of this little continent and I'm stuck. I got stuck and I'm spinning around and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why can't I move? And I had to restart the game. So that was a bit of a surprise. I can't believe I found a glitch in the game. I'm sure it'll get patched, but still surprising. So here are my final thoughts on Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake. I really feel that they've taken the original Dragon Quest III and honored it in so many ways and expanded upon it and made it a unique, brand new experience for people who have never played a Dragon Quest game. I'd say you could jump right into this game, for sure, but know that there is turn-based combat, and if you just like action combat, this is not the game for you. This is for people that want to explore a fantasy world and level up and fight lots of different monsters and boss encounters and really feel that you're part of a real medieval fantasy setting.
See ya!
And here's the bit I want to say as well. Being somebody that bought Dragon Warrior 3 in 1992 and grew up with this game, I've got to say something, and I really mean this. It really takes me back to being a kid. And that's one thing this game did for me. It blew me away and made me feel like I was like 18 years old again, playing this game for the first time. And just the attention to lighting, to the details within the dungeons, some of the exploring that you do. So a lot of us have played this game many times before, but it's like experiencing the game again for the first time. And I really recommend this game to a lot of people who are on the fence going, I don't know, like I've never played a Dragon Quest game. You can jump into this game and play it as its own standalone game. Yes, it does relate to 1 and 2, and I really hope we get 1 and 2 in the future.
Don't worry, friend. You've nothing to fear.
I want Dragon Quest to do well so we get some of these older games remade again. I want Dragon Quest 1. I want Dragon Quest 2, 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. I want to see all of those remade. And yes, is there some things that I would love to have changed? For sure. I definitely don't want to see any more censorship in the future going forward, for sure, but I definitely understand that at times I guess they were going for a general audience and they did it for a ratings thing. But, you know, at the same time, I still would have loved those original characters to look their original ways, the way they did back in the day.
Take this!
So I'll ask you guys, are you picking up Dragon Quest III, the HD-2D Remake? Let me know down below. So anyways, guys, until next time.